Your mind is literally just screaming at you, get out of the water. And it is a kind of test of mental strength. Can I keep going? Can I keep walking into this water? Can I stay in there for a minute? And in the moments after you get in, your breath is taken away. If you push through that initial sort of painful barrier, you start feeling good. And then as soon as you get out of the water, you just have this absolutely overwhelming feeling of well-being. It's almost euphoric. I never really understood this until I tried cold water swimming, but now I have. I'm completely addicted to it, and so is everyone else who tries it too. There's a big local swimming group called the Bubble Tits who meet up and swim every single day. It's a really, really good social event where I see my friends and we meet up and have a chat and have a swim.
I swim for health, but mostly for community. It's just the most beautiful community, and people meet you with friendliness and kindness.
And during the pandemic, it was absolutely invaluable resource for people. When gyms were closed, sports clubs were closed, people were meeting up on the beach and going swimming. Obviously, that was the time really when we began learning about the severity of this problem. Rainwater goes into the sewage system. The system becomes completely overwhelmed, so they have no choice but to release it into the sea, otherwise it would back up into people's homes.
We don't need a storm, just a drop of rain and they seem to start releasing. It makes people afraid to be on the sea and on the beach.
So on one hand, this amazing thing was coming into people's lives and it was becoming really popular. On the other hand, people were almost immediately being scared off. We've heard about adults, children, even pets getting ill. And ultimately, swimming should be a health positive, not a health risk. It's had such an awful knock-on effect to local business because people don't trust that Whitstable oysters and fish caught near here are safe, and they've had to invest huge sums of money in specialist equipment to really clean it. We realised that it was probably going to take some local pressure from people like us to make a difference.
I think there were originally 10 or 11 of us met in a bar down here and set up a campaign, and SOS Whitstable was born.
When we first started, we were really just committed to local change.
We thought that we would be a local pressure group on Southern Water.
We've become absolutely shocked about what we've discovered. It's so much worse than we thought, and so many other people think.
This is a national problem.
Some of the system is old, and some of it includes sewers that were combined with drainage runoff sewers, and that's been part of the problems. The thing that's unique about the English water and sewage companies is that they were privatised in the late 1980s. But if you look at what's happened over the last 33 years, it's very clearly a failure. There's been a growing problem of treatment plants with inadequate capacities just releasing overspills, even during dry weather. The companies should have been expanding the capacity of the plants to keep pace with the population, and they haven't. They've taken out of the system in dividends £59 billion. In order to pay themselves those dividends, they've accumulated a pile of debt, and that's a form of financial exploitation of the system. The regulators should have made sure that the companies were delivering on their environmental responsibilities.
This is Long Rock, which is an area of scientific interest, which is internationally and nationally important for wintering birds. It also is an area which has rare plants and rare invertebrates in it. Very close behind those trees is a sewage works, and that sewage works has unfortunately been a massive local polluter and also pumps sewage out into the sea. The sea, being the sea, brings it all back. And I increasingly spend my time despairing. I just look down and I find evidence of pollution. Any bit of strand line I see here, I just find more and more of this stuff. And I've just seen an incremental decrease in biodiversity and the breaking down of food chains. You've not only got it from the seaward side, but the brook's been used as a storm drain for decades. The stuff that's been going through there, some of that was untreated sewage. We get a lot of migrating fish going up this brook, protected species like eels, sea trout, but we just don't get them now.
These events caused by overflowing of our sewage treatment works, they're happening everywhere, all over the country. So that means we have a lot of biological contamination because of course it contains human effluent. We've seen lots of plastics, wet wipes, earbuds, but also a lot of chemicals. So things like pharmaceuticals, industrial chemicals and household chemicals, they aren't being removed. A lot of it will be carried out to sea, but a lot of those pollutants will get stuck, absorbed onto the sediment, and sediments can lock up those contaminants for a long time. That pollution can stay in our rivers for years or decades.
There were no promises, no solutions in mind, no time frames for fixing the sewage problem in Whitstable. We decided to put on a protest. We then put together a petition which got 150,000 signatures, and that was calling for an amendment to the Environment Bill.
They voted not to cut the amount of sewage going into the seas and rivers year on year. That took off, it became huge.
We followed up with a second petition calling for the industry to be nationalised again, and that got over 200,000 signatures.
The only way is to bring back public ownership, and at least then there is political accountability. It has transformed the national debate.
And then we hosted a third protest in Whitstable, which got over 2,000 people show up.
Whilst we should all be angry towards Southern Water for their desecration of our coastline, we should reserve equal anger for those who allow it to happen.
Now there is a coming together of all of the different campaigns on the seas and rivers.
The noise they're making has really become a problem for the government, who are discovering that simply making generalised statements about we will be tougher on the companies isn't enough. What we actually need is proper local plans to deal with these issues, and public ownership is becoming much more something that people talk about. They also save money because you don't have the private sector ripping dividends out of the system.
People are feeling more empowered. It is going to make a difference. There is going to come the kind of changes we want in terms of infrastructure. We know that as long as we keep up this pressure.
We just want to see a realistic time frame over a 10, perhaps 15-year period where this situation can be completely eradicated through proper investment, and then we can see confidence return in the waters, we can see the fishing, the oysteries, the hospitality trade, all of these things recuperate and people start enjoying the coast again.